It rained yesterday. I'm Joseph. This is Input English. Today I'm going to offer you another piece of the puzzle. We are language learners. We are using comprehensible input to acquire our target language, in this case, English. We're building on what we already know, and our comprehensible input needs to cover a lot of different topics so that we acquire the whole language. You can't learn English by listening to stories about a boy and his dog, because there's a lot more to talk about than that. If you're new to comprehensible input, I have a lot of videos that explain how it works. Comprehensible input is the modern trend in language learning, and for me, it was the answer to many years of failing to learn languages in spite of a lot of work on my part. So why should we talk about the weather? Well, the weather is actually fairly important to all human endeavors. Some weather is suitable for certain activities, other weather might not be very suitable. The weather has a lot of influence on what we might want to do, what we can do, and how we do it. Often we use the weather as a safe topic to discuss when we want to talk to someone without creating any controversy. There are social situations in which it would be unwise to choose topics like money, politics, and sensitive topics that might offend people. What we often do is talk about the weather. I started out with the statement that it rained yesterday. Why would I be so excited about that event? Well, as you may know, I live in Northern California. The climate here in Northern California is fairly unusual. We get almost all our rain each year during a 3-month period of time. Our rainfall is almost all in December, January, and February. So the other 9 months out of the year, we get little or no rain. We have not had significant rain here in more than 6 months. So when it rained yesterday, I was thrilled. How did this rain unfold yesterday? We had rain showers. If someone says that there were rain showers, then that would be a relatively short period of rain that started abruptly and ended abruptly. That's the best description of rain showers, and that's what we had yesterday. Rain may manifest in a variety of ways, and we describe it when we discuss the weather with each other. If the rain occurs over a very protracted period of time, you might describe it as a long, soaking rain. Typically, rain showers don't produce much moisture on the ground, but long periods of soaking rain will add a lot of moisture to the environment. Based on what I observed yesterday, I doubt that the reservoir nearby here raised its level significantly because of that relatively short period of rain. But if it rained for a week straight, I would expect that reservoir level to go up. Sometimes we experience rain that is very heavy. You might describe a cloudburst. That would be when the rain is extremely heavy. You could talk about torrents of rain. A torrent is a large flow of water, and so we can use the word torrent to actually describe rain as well. But cloudburst and torrent usually means extremely heavy rain. Rain does not occur by itself. It's part of the weather, and so other parameters that are important would be wind, temperature, and perhaps phenomena like lightning and thunder. If you observe heavy rain, With a lot of wind, you might describe a driving rain. Now, when you say driving in this context, we're not talking about driving a car, we're talking about the raindrops being driven by the wind. A driving rain is a very strong rainstorm with a lot of wind involved. We're all aware of how fond of metaphors we are. So if the rainstorm is really heavy, you could say that it's raining cats and dogs. Raining cats and dogs is a common expression for very heavy rain. So that's the heavy side of the spectrum. What about the lighter side? You could describe light rain as a drizzle, just a little bit. If the light rain is made up of very small droplets, you could discuss it in terms of being a mist, very small droplets. If the droplets are larger but not very frequent, people will say that it's just spitting rain. So these are all descriptions of light rain phenomenon. Now, what if the temperature is very low? What if the rain is occurring near the freezing point of water? Well, then you see other types of precipitation. We wouldn't call these other forms rain, they have their own names. If the rain water being discharged from the clouds is supercooled, this liquid water in the droplets may be below the freezing point. This is called supercooled water, and it has not been triggered to turn into ice. That occurs when it hits a cold surface. We describe that as freezing rain, and that can be extremely dangerous because this liquid water that is super cooled can hit a road surface and glaze it over with very smooth, slippery ice. This is extremely treacherous for driving. Sometimes the raindrops freeze in the cloud and produce what we call sleet. Sleet is precipitation with frozen raindrops. If sleet is formed of frozen raindrops, then what would hail be? Well, hail is a very interesting weather phenomenon that we see a lot in the United States in various areas. Here in Northern California, we see a fair amount of hail. It's fairly common. For hail to occur, one needs to have thunderclouds, that is, cumulonimbus clouds. You need very tall clouds with a lot of vertical development. These clouds, called cumulonimbus clouds, have a lot of updraft. Inside the cloud, the air is moving upward very rapidly. So raindrops can freeze in these clouds. They can be propelled upward by this updraft, and then they can fall back down through the cloud, accumulating more water. These cycles of up and down movement inside the cloud allow layers of water to accumulate on these hailstones, and they get bigger and bigger. Here in Northern California, most hailstorms are very small. They're pea size. In some areas of the United States, one can find hailstones that are the size of tennis balls or even larger. You could easily understand that pea-size hail would not likely be dangerous to us or our property, but large hailstones falling out of the sky can injure people and can severely damage objects. One of the things that pilots are taught when they undergo pilot training is the negative effect of hail damage to the wings of an aircraft. If a metal wing of an aircraft is subjected to large hailstones, a lot of dents can be made, and the dents can change the airflow over that wing and reduce the lift. Airplanes with hail damage can fly very poorly because of this damage. A more recent term of art in discussing precipitation is a wintry mix. We can describe rain or sleet or freezing rain, but what if all of that is happening at the same time? That's what we call wintry mix. So this has been an overview of the terms that we use talking about weather and precipitation in particular. If you have great interest in this, one of the things that you can do to broaden your understanding of how we discuss the weather is to watch the weather reports on video. They're available to you online all the time. One of the advantages of watching weather videos is that the presenters are selected for their position as a weather reporter because they speak clearly. Weather reports use standard English. They are not going to use slang or local terms. It's going to be very standard English. I'm not advocating that you put dozens of hours into watching weather videos. The point I'm making is that there is great input so that you can clarify in your mind what these various terms mean just by watching weather reports. So why was I so excited about yesterday's rainstorm? Well, first of all, because it was a change. Our weather here over most of the year is clear skies and warm air, so it gets a little monotonous. Yesterday provided us a nice change of weather. It gave us a little pleasant variety of weather. So what will happen now that we've had this rain event here in Northern California? It is predictable that in a lot of places, the grass will start to grow again. Much of the grass that we see here in Northern California has gone dormant because it hasn't rained in so many months. Now, around me, this grass is green and growing, but the reason for that is very simple. This is a county park, and the park administration chooses to irrigate all this grass. That means they have to mow it as well, because this grass doesn't go dormant. Because of yesterday's rain, we may see some small sprouting of new grass. Another significant challenge that we see when it rains after a long period of no rain is what it does to road conditions. We all know that cars driving on the various roads are going to drop a little bit of grease from time to time. Cars, trucks, and other vehicles are going to shed a little bit of oil onto the road surface. The tires on vehicles will wear a little bit while they are running on these roads. The traffic on the roadways will generate grease, oil, and dust residues that will accumulate on the road. With the first heavy rain, what we observe is very slippery conditions on the road. The road is covered with a mixture of water, oil, grease, and dust. And so it is very foreseeable that the first rain of the year can generate a lot of motor vehicle accidents. Most of us here in Northern California understand that. It's part of our weather pattern. It's part of our ongoing experience. And so we have that in mind as we make decisions. There's an expression that covers that. Forewarned is forearmed. That is, if we know something is going to happen, we can be prepared for it. Now, this is very much at work with me. I knew that we were going to get some rain at some point, whether it was going to be in September or November, I did not know. but I observed that the tires on the Subaru were very worn. They did not have good tread, and I was concerned about their ability to help me stay in control of the car. So in anticipation of the rain season that's coming, I actually bought new tires. I wanted to make sure that that car is very sure-footed. When it was raining yesterday, I was out driving. I didn't see any accidents. This may have been for a very specific reason. There was a lot of road construction, and the traffic where I was driving was going very slow. Frequently, we were going slower than 20 miles per hour. At those low speeds, it would be less likely that drivers would lose control of their car because of slippery conditions. None of us were very happy that we were caught in a traffic jam. But in reality, that slow traffic may have prevented a number of accidents on those winding roads upon which we were driving. Now that we've had the first rain of the year, the question might be, what's coming next? Was that rain a fluke, and it's just going to go back to the usual dry weather for another 6 or 8 weeks? Or will we have more and more rainstorms giving us an early rainy season this year? I have no idea. I expect that we'll have another period of 6 or 8 weeks of dry weather, followed by the usual weather pattern of December, January, and February with a lot of rain. I invite comments below, and if you like videos like this, be sure to click on this one next. See you soon.